Everyone, come quick, he's here! Our Lord is here. Ah, rejoice, rejoice.
Rejoice!
What a special occasion. I mean, it's not every day that the son of the devil is born, but sometimes two movies with pretty much like the same premise come out at around the same time. We are treated this time of year with Immaculate and the First Omen. It is wild to me that these movies came out so close to each other. And in preparation to this film, I watched The Omen the day before. I didn't bother with the sequels or TV shows, so it's possible I may have missed some things in this movie upon watching it. But without further ado, let us all gather around and speak of the birth of the one who will unite us all. Without spoilers, let us hope he brings us glorious spookiness. Okay, so I'm sure most of you are wondering if you should watch the original Omen to freshen up on the material before watching the prequel. And honestly, not really. I mean, there are references to the original movie, but not always in the best way, and I'll get to that later. Obviously, if you didn't already know, this movie is canon to the original, and it takes place right before the original. Let's go ahead and get into the plot summary. The movie opens up with an intro of two priests talking about the birth of something unholy. The men talking are actors Charles Dance, who plays the iconic Tywin Lannister.
Careful now, girl. I enjoy you, but be careful.
Okay, I'll watch myself. And Ralph Ineson, who is a pretty famous actor and is in several horror movies. I'll go with the moment from The Witch.
We are children of sin all, yet I tell thee I have raised up no witch in this house.
They set the scene that Ralph's character, Father Brennan, is on a mission to track down this unholy child, and it ends with an homage to one of the deaths from the original film, and it's pretty well done. Then we get the title card and start the main part of the story with our main character, Margaret, played by Nell Tiger Free. Wait, what the fuck? Is that her real name? There's no way. Holy shit, that is her real name. Alright, let's move on. But real quick, here's a clip from a show that'll jog everyone's memory of why this chick looks familiar.
What about now?
So Margaret is aspiring to be a nun and goes to a nun convent and orphanage in Italy. So, yeah, it's pretty much the exact same as Immaculate. Anyways, again, crazy how these movies came out a week after each other. So Margaret is getting to know the place and spots some weird nuns and weird orphans while preparing for this next stage of her life. She encounters another aspiring hot nun. Now, was it necessary for me to call them both hot?
So, let yourself feel it, okay? Be brave.
You tell me. So she convinces Margaret to live life a little bit before taking her vows. She does, and the movie kind of spirals from there. Margaret gets these occasional visions and becomes very protective of a little orphan girl who is also having visions and makes creepy drawings of them. During her stay, Father Brennan tells her that some bad stuff is about to happen, and sure enough, bad stuff does happen, which makes her go to him, and he convinces her to look into the records at the orphanage to find the truth of the birth of the weird girl she has become protective of. But as the plot thickens, so does Margaret's visions, backlash from the other nuns, and people just seem to die around her. Pfft, lucky. Do you know how hard I have to try for some of my Never mind. So, what's the good and bad of the First Omen? Let's get deep. The first two acts of the movie is pretty hit and miss. Margaret gets visions that are pretty standard stuff in possession films or just any horror film involving religion. But what's nice and new about that is that Margaret's been dealing with them her whole life, but she's at a stage where she already knows how to deal with them, which to me was nice and new. It wasn't that broke her down, it was the real things that were happening around her. There are some homages to the original, and some are good and some are bad because they just think bigger or more is better, and it just comes across as cheap and unoriginal. To me, I thought the movie did a pretty good job at pulling the focus of the story so whenever something new came, it was able to give you a bit of a shock. And speaking of shock, there are a few lame jump scares in the first 2 acts, and some of them are like horror jump scares, and the other ones are the cheap ones that are just supposed to make you laugh for jumping at them. It's only until the 3rd act where the terror comes in, and boy oh boy is some of it very well done. But
oh man, there's always a catch!
The 3rd act is good, but it's the entire 3rd act. And this is a longer movie, so I kept thinking the movie was going to end on one scene. And then more happened, and then I thought it was going to end ominously. And then more happened, and then it sets up possible or probable sequels that would either have to be spin-offs from the original 4 movies or maybe take place after the 4th or have something to do with the TV shows. I'll admit, I had no fucking clue that there were this many Omen things. Can't we just get an apocalypse going with a formidable antichrist?
Condemn them, mother! For they know exactly what they do!
I'm sorry, what does that mean?
No, not that one.
But I'm nothing like normal.
Definitely not that one. Okay, I give up. I really am not sure if I've seen a rememberable movie with an Antichrist in it. Is he the son that I've always wanted in The Omen 2 or 3? I know there are famous movies like Rosemary's Baby, which is very good and does have an Antichrist in it, but I'm talking about movies where the Antichrist is actually a main character and not something that just shows up at the very end like in Constantine. If you know of any, please let me know. But back to the review. If you ever wanted to know more about the conception of Damien, that's pretty much what this movie answers. So just imagine some people got together and remembered the scenes in The Omen where they go to the graveyard and find the bones of the jackal and the murdered baby of the Thorn family, and the swap that they did at the very beginning, and thought, hey, let's make an entire movie diving a bit deeper into that particular part of the Omen story. And here we are. So if that's something you wanted more information on, then this is the movie for you. I will say it's not a ridiculous cash grab. This cast is half stacked. They do give some decent answers to questions that do come up because of the first movie, and some horror scenes will make you jealous that you didn't conjure up those images with your victims in your basements. Or maybe that one just applies to me. Overall, this one will probably go on my list of underrated horror movies of the year, but I doubt it'll make my best of horror movies of the year. But don't worry, we got plenty more coming, and until then, keep it spooky.